No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I rang the bell maybe a minute early. Happy December 8th. It's good to be back. Woof. Tony Garton has our Pledge of Allegiance this morning. Which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead, Dean. Okay, Ellen Smith has her inspiration this morning. If we don't change, we don't grow. If we don't grow, we are not really living. Wow. Wow, how about that? Emily, you don't have a job this morning because we don't have any guests and visitors, but maybe this morning with everything going on. So there are a couple announcements, and then we're going to turn it over to Matt and Jana. One thing is, Mary Lou came up to me this morning and said, this is an interesting thing. All the Christmas decorations we have around Oak Ridge, Wanda Craven was responsible for that, one of our past presidents. And she decided that we needed to do that, and she made sure it happened. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Just a good memory. Dean, you have, I'm going to come up and then we'll go the other way, right? You have an announcement this morning.
Yes, a little bit about the holiday parade coming up Saturday. We need as many hands on deck as we can get to pass out books. Got a few more books to label toward the back. If anybody has time into the meeting to label some books, that would be great. We got the float pretty much ready Saturday morning. We had some good help there, got that ready, got some books labeled. Parade itself, dress warmly. We'll have a lot of people will be walking. There are also some jobs on the float to pack up some books in the bags and hand them out. We're supposed to, we'll have the float there probably by about 4:30. If you're going to be on the float or walking with the float in the parade, you're supposed to be there by 5 p.m. at the corporate center where SAIC is. There's parking down there. There's also parking down at the high school where the parade will end. Lynn Cardwell and his wife will be shuttling some people after the parade. So if you park up by the corporate center, you can get a ride back to your car from the high school after the parade. Young people especially are appreciated, and those of you who are able, we appreciate you too. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. And thanks for all the work you and your group did on that. I will say up front, each of you has a sheet in front of you. Tom already filled his out. Isn't he great? If you have time in the course of our meeting or right after, and you have any thoughts and ideas related to those 3 questions on that sheet, please provide them. We're always looking for some input about new things and new ideas and things that you might want to be interested in terms of supporting the club. So with that.
Actually, my lab coat's in my car. So no rooster in the spirit of the holidays. Tony's asked that we just use our money for auctions coming up and other things. So all we're going to do is Happy Dollars. So I will not be here at the bake sale next week because I'm taking my dad. I'm going to do my Happy Dollars real quick on another little 4-day trip. I'm trying to spend a lot of time with my dad these days. He's 80 years old and we're getting rare time to spend some time. Lab is crazy busy, but Tammy's my proxy next week. She has $100 and help her pick out some good items for me. But anyway, come on up for Happy Dollars because there's a lot left to do.
I will try to talk fast. I have 2 Happy Dollars. One is that I had a melanoma on my leg and surgery was done and the cancer had not spread. So that was my big my second Happy Dollar is that my daughter, who lives in Williamsburg, Virginia, and works for Thomas Jefferson National Lab, is moving here today and has bought a house a half mile from me. She has been given authority by the lab to work 100% virtually from Oak Ridge because she has an elderly mother.
So I have an interesting happy dollar. I went to the bash at the Children's Museum on Friday night, and I want to give a happy dollar, and this, Brenda, is to you. The ROTC, the Navy ROTC, was Navy, yeah, they were helping, and they were amazing kids. They really, really were great. So I know you were instrumental in the beginning, so that's just a happy dollar, and of course, the bash was great. The other happy dollar is today, Roy and I are leaving for Europe for a month. And so we're really happy, so you can keep the change.
How does one say they're getting older? It's my birthday tomorrow.
It's always good to follow Judy because the microphone's always at the height for normal height people. I knew about Herman's story about painting the squirrel's tail yellow. And so when I got tired a couple of months ago of the squirrels eating all my bird seed, I started catching them in live traps. And I knew Herman left them in the K-25 parking lot. So I take them across the river and paint their tails yellow, and none of them have come back. And so far, I'm on number 14.
So since Bonnie brought up ROTC, I'm going to use one of my remaining happy dollars. Please say prayers for the unit. They're in Hawaii right now with the trip that almost didn't happen 2 years in a row. And my son missed out because he's in finals at UT. But the unit is in Hawaii and they're having historic flooding. The parade did go off as planned yesterday, and it looked like the streets weren't flooded in Honolulu where they were, and they were the only unit from Tennessee selected, by the way. So it's a really huge honor, but please pray they get a safe trip back, because this trip has been jinxed from the get-go, but I think they've had a good trip. So say a prayer for them.
I have a Wanda Craven story that I was, when I was on council, I was at council night out with Jack Suggs, and we didn't have many people coming, so he started telling stories. He's a great storyteller, and he said, I have to tell you, when Jeff Broughton was new, do you remember, any of you remember Jeff Broughton, who was the city manager? He had a little speech impediment. He said, one day this woman came in to see Jeff, and she wanted to talk about putting lights on all the power poles in the city, and Jeff didn't quite know what to do about it. So he calls Jack Suggs, and he said, there's this woman in my office, and he told her what she wanted. And Suggs says, well, you better do it or your life will be miserable.
I have a happy dollar for the dictionary project. We delivered all of the dictionaries. Emily got a special treat. She got invited in to the cafeteria to hand them out personally. And actually, David Olsen and I had the same experience at our school. So I'm not sure who was breaking the rules, but anyway, it was fun to see the kids, and hopefully next year we'll be back in the classroom. The kids absolutely love them, and they particularly love all of the extra material at the back of the dictionary. Emily had a good time, I think, with sign language. So it was great. Thanks everyone who participated in the dictionary project.
Well, just a $5 paid ad, and a big thank you to everybody who helped support the gala on Friday night. About 9:30, I was starting to feel really relieved, just a little stressed, but we had tremendous support from this club, sponsors, auction participants, donors. It was a wonderful evening. The ROTC cadets were awesome. And we also had students from the National Honor Society and the Key Club. So it was a great night, and we'll take a few weeks off and then we'll start planning next year. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Hello. I thought they did. Oh. Okay. Go ahead, Dean, to the next slide. Okay, so the long-awaited club assembly. Wow, we had to reschedule it, but these are our board members. I just put this up for a second. We have another board meeting next Tuesday, don't we, everybody? But we've got a lot of neat things that are going on, and some of the folks are going to talk about that. I'm going to skip. There's 2 more slides on our goals. These are the goals that we send into Rotary. I'm going to send all these slides out, a PDF file to everybody in the club next Monday, so you don't have to worry about these next 2 too much, other than saying we're moving along. There's one interesting one, empowering girls. That's something that Big Rotary wants to do, but they don't know what it is yet. And I hope we figure out something, because I think that would be a neat initiative if we can do something in that area. Next slide. So a number of you have asked me about expenses and our budget. I wanted to go over that for a minute. And Chris, you might come up as we're doing this, because he has one slide about it. I broke our budget, which is about $35,500 for the year, into these categories. The biggest expense is things to Rotary, the Rotary magazine, Rotary dues, Rotary different things. Club meeting expenses include our expenses for what used to be having breakfast and things. We decided this year that as a means for promoting membership, we would go coffee only, at least for a while. And in some ways, I think that's so far panning out, because we still don't know what's going to go on with COVID and things changing again. But the expenses for that this year were $9,000 that we put in the budget. If we were doing meeting food like we did, it would be $3,000, and our dues would go up another $200. So we thought, maybe we shouldn't do that. Some of you may disagree. Some of you in your comments today may put, we want food. We'll have to reevaluate that, but that's kind of where we've been. Different administration breakdowns, membership, fellowship, awards like the Linda Brown Award and things like that. And then we have some money for different service project activities. So next slide, Dean. Membership dues, based on that roughly $500 membership that we have, and the membership class that we have for couples and family memberships and different categories, are $32,500. We expect to bring in rooster income of $2,500. Chris is going to talk about where we are with that, which is pretty amazing, to tell you the truth, but we have an amazing rooster. Miscellaneous income. So that's, balancing the budget. Next slide. Chris, go ahead, talk about where we are in terms of finance.
All right, guys, good morning. Just a couple of things here from our that we pulled from the most recent financials. The club is very financially healthy. Total income's coming in well for where we are in the year. Membership dues are good. Rooster income of just almost $1,500. I mean, that's pretty strong given what our budget is. So that's a testament to you guys getting off your wallets and putting the money back in the club. Expenditures through the year have been just under $14,000. But the biggest thing about this club is our cash position. It's always been very strong right there, $114,000. So, I mean, if we're looking at a budget of $35,000 a year, I mean, we're running this club on autopilot without any contribution from us for 3 years. So that's what I'm saying is that's just too much. That's too much. So we need to, as a club, as a board, we need to figure out a way to start putting that money to work in whatever way we deem fit. I mean, it's okay to have a little reserves, but guys, that's too much. That's too much. So we need to put that money to work. And I don't think with the minds in this room that we'd have a problem doing that. So, Tony?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you knew that. And, that's something that the board really needs to not grapple with, it's a good problem, but that we should find ways to use a large portion of that money that we have in reserves. Next slide, Dean. Pat? That's you.
as you saw earlier, our goal was 12 new members this year net. And we have, I should start at the top, yes. I think you're aware that we created a special membership, and as a lucky outcome of that, we have Sheila. Is Sheila here? Michael's has joined. But we thought it would be, because of the spouses we have, it's more than double the energy and the input. So that would be a good way to get members in our club who are really committed to it. And that also would apply not just to a spouse, but to an adult child working in Oak Ridge, working and living in Oak Ridge. And so think about that as you think about a member. Is there a spouse or family member that might be included in that? We have 7 new members: Sue Byrne, Will Thompson, and I think Will Thompson has decided for now he needs to back off because he has a lot of family responsibilities, but we think he'll come back at some point. Martin Grossbeck, Tony Garten, and Sheila Michaels, Bailey Norman, and John Roberts. And we're off to a great start, but we're not at 12 yet. My personal goal is to have 50% of the membership in Rotary be women. So you girls, women, elderly ladies of a certain age, like me, think about who you think would be a good female member to up our percentage. Rotary International's goal for this year was to have 40% of a club's membership bring a prospective member to a meeting. We haven't asked everybody to do that per se, but I will comment that on that July day, first day, when I asked everybody to put down names of prospective members, we had more than 50 names, and everybody who was here almost put down a name at least. So think in terms of who you know that would be a good member, and whether you'd like to invite them to come, or whether you'd like to let me know and talk to them. On January 19th, we have a special program that we're designated to prospective members. We want to have at least 10 prospective members at that meeting. And what we're going to do is borrow a great idea that the 40th anniversary celebration did. We will take to our prospective members that we are inviting to the January 9th thing. We're borrowing this idea, and in this gift box and invitation box will be a Pablo Picasso peace mug and a coaster that also goes with that. And we'll take a donut or something, a breakfast pastry, and deliver these to our members that we want to invite. So what I need to know from you in the next 3 weeks, or let's say by the end of the first week in January, who would you suggest that we invite to this membership gala on January the 19th? And we'll talk about Rotary and have fun and do some moving around of tables and that sort of thing. So please, if you have some new names, I have 3 or 4 names that I've talked to, and they all, either I'm not a morning person, or yeah, I might, let me think about that. So I got to find some way to move these people here, but I've got either 10 or 12 of these. So that's the maximum that we can have. Keep thinking about that, and I'll keep reminding you to think about who you would like to bring to have more knowledge of Rotary, get to know the good people in this club. And let's see, is that okay? So we got to get to our goal. We'd like to have women members, but by golly, we'll take men members too. Okay.
2 other sort of membership things real quick, and then we'll move on. Go ahead, next slide. Bonnie, come on up. Marion Wildgruber, you remember her, great person, great member. She actually emailed me yesterday and said, gosh, I miss you guys. And she's going to do a program in February, but I invited her to our auction next week. So don't be surprised, but I mean, really welcome her. And I'm sure everybody will anyhow, because she is a great person and doing some really neat things. And keep in mind this 40%, each one bring one. Please don't be anxious if you bring somebody that doesn't become a member. Bring somebody. I think that was his ideas about doing that, just to, you know, get the juices flowing, okay? So go ahead, Bonnie, over to you.
Okay, well, this is really an eye chart. I couldn't even read the big print, no less this print, but the point of this slide is the external things, the things we're not doing just for clubs and club members are enormous. We've got this long list. I'll make the point that over on the left are the Rotary overall goals, and we have a project and many projects in every one of those. So I think we're really, really doing great. If you ever want to see this, what I've done is in that blue thing, I've said, have we completed it this year? Are they ongoing? Most of the things are in fact completed this year, but there are a few things like Christmas Angels that are still ongoing. And then I'll say that the newest thing that we're doing is the Rotary Days of Service. And we're going to be a Rotary Days of Service club. We're committed to that. President Tony asked us to. Keisha has volunteered to work with me, and we need 1 or 2 other volunteers. I'll say that we've already kind of agreed the Noon Club is in, and the Noon Club president is Naomi Asher, so I'm sure she has plenty of ideas for how we can do service through the United Way and things like that. But we're not limited to that. So if you have an idea for type of service, the conditions are you have to have 2 clubs, the event has to involve Rotarians, and it has to involve 25% of people who aren't Rotarians. So something in this town where we're introduced into the community, they want to make sure that we do at least 1 social media campaign. So it's really not only doing service, but getting Rotary out there in the community doing service, and also meeting members of other clubs and building relationships. So it's a really great thing. We are not going to do anything before the holidays, but after the holidays, we'll get together with Naomi and figure out what we might want to do in Days of Service. And last year, some people committed to hours. I have your names, I have your hours, so we will re-engage you in that if you committed to it. So I don't think we need to go over all of them. The literacy lunch is coming up. We did have 2 things that we used to do with not just the lunch, but in fact related to literacy, meeting the authors and things like that. I'm not sure whether we're still doing that. Martha Hobson was doing that in the past, so I'll need to check with her. But everything else is really done strong. The dictionary project you just heard about. So I think all I can say is you're doing great, guys. I mean, it's really great. So if anybody wants to see this in detail, including the check marks on which goal they're in, let me know.
Let's see, next one was Tammy's. Let's move past that. Tammy's not feeling well today, but you know, Tammy does way more than what she does in terms of her VP internal work. Programs. There's a mistake in this. I said all program slots booked through end of January. Yesterday was a crazy day, booked through February. Wow, what a deal. Thank you, John Glowinka. But the key to this, to make it sort of, you know, Keisha, how did you ever do it? You know, you understand. The key to this is just getting ideas. You know, I hope you think we've had some really interesting programs this year. It's been fun. We're trying to get a few more things that are more techie. That's why we're bringing an EATER program in, if we could do it. So it'd be neat. But and it's been a plus, and especially Ray Smith, thank you. Being able to make video recordings of the program. I don't know how many of you watch it at other times, but I suspect some of the people who don't come to meetings watch it, and it's a way to do that. So next slide. We'll call them the tag team guys, I guess. James Wilson and David Olsen, the 2 foundations, and I think James is first. He's got his big briefcase. What's the briefcase? Is that money in it? Does that have money in it?
Yeah. Go ahead. It's a dead body. Well, good morning and Merry Christmas, everyone. I want to speak briefly about our club foundation. And of course, a month ago on November the 3rd, I did that in great detail, so I'll not do that again. And we're about out of time. Wanted to update you on where we are now. As of Today, we're going to have our final meeting of the year. We're going to elect officers and directors for next year. Charles Crow will be our president, and I am sure our club will fly high with someone whose name is Crow. So we're looking forward to doing that, and we're going to do a little financial pruning and financial KP to clean up our accounts and get those ready, and then we'll look back at our year and see what we did well and what we did not do well, and try and have a fresh start for next year. Dick Davis and Ruth Miller will be new directors this coming year. Now, the primary focus of our foundation, of course, is the Community Action Grant Program. As I mentioned last time, this started in 2013. You have given $171,000 during that time. And this year we gave $55,000, which is a record. Every year has been a record. So our next goal is to exceed the $55,000. We can do that. There's a staggering amount of ability and experience in this room, and a staggering amount of ability to meet our goal of distributing greater than $55,000 for the Community Action Grant Program. And I want to point out, and I believe this is true, and I didn't go back and look at other years, but I believe this is the first year that you have given voluntarily more money to the foundation to go to the Community Action Grant Program than you mandatorily paid in dues. And I think that is very significant. It's really a wonderful thing. Everybody should be congratulated. And I hope that continues in the future. That's where we are now. As of November 30, we have $19,000 in our general account. I know there's thousands of dollars that are not reported after November 30. We're winding up this year, my year in the foundation. And we're not slowing down because we're ramping up and in full rally mode on raising money for the Community Action Grant Program. So when you consider your charitable giving this year and next year, I'm giving you 24 reasons to give some money to the foundation. And if you want 2 more reasons, it's career pathways and our dictionary project. Giving money to our Community Action Grant Program keeps the money locally with people and entities that are doing really good work. And we don't have to reinvent any wheels. We just we require them to tell us what they're going to do with the money. It makes them focus on what they're going to be doing. We get a discrete set of actions that they want to be funded for, and we evaluate those and fund them like we did this year. So think about us, and yes.
We recently were talking, this is a board meeting maybe, and I'm not clear in my mind, but in addition to applications we get when we announce that we're accepting applications for grants, the club supports other projects that come along every now and then. Does that money come out of the foundation, or does it come out of club funds?
Well, when you say out of the foundation only receives money from the members. So my understanding is when you ask for, you apply for a district grant and let's say you get one, well, you have to pre-fund the whole thing, and the grant payoff is at the end. So we get that money from the members for that dedicated purpose and pay it out, and then apply for the funding from the grant that we've already been awarded. It's my understanding. Is that generally correct? So that's how that works, it's my understanding. And if you have, if you're worried about where you would like to spend some of the extra $115,000, yes, we do want to try and get $55,000. I will vote for it, but we have a lot of money there, and in the past, the club has given gifts to the foundation. It did not this year for that grant, for that funding. So I would suggest a substantial contribution from the club would be great. Because you have the money. Oh, and one other thing. We were going to have our annual meeting, end of the year meeting, and I told everybody we were going to look at our year and we're going to be blunt and talk rough and be really focused on finding out what we did well and what we didn't do well. And we're going to have a food fight, and I was going to bring the tomatoes. And there they are. And we'll meet after this meeting, and we have a short meeting because we have to leave by 9. Thank you.
So James and I gave a program about a month ago about the foundation, so I'm going to keep this really short. The Rotary International Foundation is the 501c piece of the Rotary International, and that is the one that collects money for various charities. And in particular, it collects the funds for the global and district grants. So each Rotary Club has a committee. This is our committee here: Fred Berry, Tom Lakers, myself, Pete Peterson, Deb Redmond, Jim Rushton, Tammy Sayers, Brenda Thorberg, and James Wilson. And James wears 2 hats. And we have a very experienced and capable committee. Next slide. So each year, the club has goals that it gives to the Rotary International, and then we try and meet these goals. And this is where we are now with meeting our goals for the Rotary International Foundation. First, the SHARE program, which funds the global and district grants. Our goal is $10,000. And right now we're at about $13,000. Polio Plus, our goal is $4,000. And right now we're a little bit short, and we're at $1,000. So we.
I haven't been able to update, but the bill money was given to reconcile. That was $1,175. And then my lab does the memorial donation to polio, 14th year now. So we'll be exceeding 4,000, but we don't want to visit that and not do it for 4,000. Haven't done it for polio, so I haven't answered that.
Thank you. Then for new projects, we have several projects in the pipeline, but I don't think any global or district new projects have been funded, finalized, I believe.
We'll come back to that.
And then we have 3 specific goals, and these are always very difficult to meet. One is a new major donor, and that is a new person who contributes a total of $10,000. And that's not a person giving their second $10,000. Once you give $10,000, your contributions are more or less between you and Rotary International. So we only understand people going towards the first $10,000. A bequest society member is a little bit easier than it sounds, and that is a commitment of $10,000 to Rotary International through your estate. And then one benefactor is a donation of $1,000 to the endowment fund. So thank you very much.
I think it got lost for a second that Brenda's company is making a large donation to this, and I think we're. Okay, Lydia, are you on Zoom? If not, I'll just report for her. Lydia is an amazing president-elect, and she's going to be a great president next year. She's working on getting submittals for district grants. She and I have to sign an MOU, which we're going to do on Thursday when she gets back from her trip. Big thing for her and for the club is getting people to be members of the board of directors next year. And she's going to be contacting people, and our committee is going to be trying to identify people. Important effort to do. So do your best to be responsive to her and the club as she makes those requests. Next slide. Dean, next one. Okay, I mean, we're late already. I'm sorry. We had so many things going today but I don't think anybody left. So I guess you were all kind of interested in what we talked about. We got a lot of things going on. Any questions right now? Yeah, if you have filled those things out, the sheets, or if you want to do it later, and I'm going to put a note in the weekly email that I do to try to get some of that kind of input. Please do that. Questions from you all right now, or comments or anything? Well, thanks, Brenda. Ray?
Just another plea for volunteers to help us Saturday with the march along with our.
The march.
We need some volunteers.
Christmas parade.
Christmas parade.
There you go. Okay. And I wish I could be there, but I'm going to be with my grandkids in Georgia. And so I had the choice. Bonnie. Okay. Anything else? I hope if you have other comments, I know it's late, about what we talked about what I showed you about the budget, any things like that, get in touch with me, get in touch with board members and talk about it. I know, again, we had a lot to go through today. Before we end, right after we do the four-way test, I just have one thing I want to say. But our four-way test will be presented by Wayne Holberg. But again, before I bong that, I have one more thing. So, Wayne. Is it the truth? Is it beneficial? Sorry. Will it be beneficial? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun? Now, the one more thing, a question came, when did we start doing, is it fun? And I don't remember. Does anybody remember? It was you? It was you, Ellen. So there you go. It was during Emily's reign. You got it from John Germ. So John Germ, who was the president of Rotary International, did it. So now you know if you didn't know. Thanks, everybody.